Hey guys, Will from EDM Tips here. This week we're going to look at the basics of equalization. So we're going to look at what the different controls of an equalizer are and how we can use them. Thanks for subscribing, and let's hop into our DAW and get it done. So when we are making a track, obviously we have all these different elements and each one has certain frequencies. Now what an equalizer or an EQ does is basically reduce certain frequencies or boost certain frequencies. It's that simple. So humans can hear from about 20 Hz to 20 kHz, give or take. 20 Hz is really low, 20 kHz is really high. So equalizers operate within this spectrum. I'm going to use the FabFilter Pro Q EQ solely for the reason that it's got a good display so I can show you what's going on. But you don't need to use this, you can just use your stock plugin in your DAW. So here we've got a piano, and you can see that the display on the equalizer shows the spectrum, which is obviously one of the 4 dimensions in our mixing space, the frequency spectrum. So it goes from 20 Hz down here all the way up to 20 kHz up here, which is the entire spectrum of human hearing. And what an EQ does is basically give us control over the different frequencies within our sound. So for instance, we can dictate the lowest frequencies in the sound and cut everything out below that. And we do that using a high pass filter, which is the first of our EQ tools. So let's hear that. We've got our frequency knob here, which will dictate which frequency is being affected. So this is what the high pass filter does. So we can hear it's actually cut out those frequencies beneath the frequency that we've selected with the frequency knob. Now that is called a high pass filter or a low cut. It means the same thing really. So obviously the opposite of that would be the high cut or the low pass, which allows low frequencies to come through beneath the frequency that we've selected. So it's chopping out those higher frequencies. The next kind of EQ filter that we can use is called a shelf. I'm going to use a low shelf. And what this is it will just shelve the frequencies rather than completely rolling them off like the high pass or low cut filter. If you put the gain right down, then of course it's going to have the same effect as a high pass filter or a low cut filter. The gain knob in the middle dictates by how much the frequencies are increased in amplitude or decreased in amplitude. It stands to reason that the opposite of the low shelf is a high shelf, and it's exactly as you'd expect. And the next EQ curve type is actually called a bell. And this is very good for honing in on specific frequencies. And I'll show you what the Q knob is more clearly here. So we'll put the gain up. And if we use the Q knob, we can see that the actual amount of frequencies, the bandwidth being affected, increases or decreases. And this is very useful if you want to hone in, as I say, on a particular frequency, and you might use reductive EQ to take out certain frequencies with what's known as a notch, which is just a bell, but with a very high Q value. Or you might raise particular frequencies too. And that is basically how you use an EQ in your DAW. Like I said, a pretty basic video, but if you've never actually learnt this stuff, then hopefully it's been of some use to you. If you want to get better mixes, download my free 30 mixing tips PDF below this video. Thanks for subscribing, and until next time, cheers and happy producing.